Welcome to this week's What's for Dinner video. My name is Ashley. I'm going to be showing you 3 different meals I made this past week. I don't always follow recipes exactly, but if you're interested, I've linked some similar recipes down below. The first dinner I'm going to be showing you, I made some easy black pepper beef stir fry. So I am just taking 1 green bell pepper and 1 red bell pepper, and I'm just going to cut those up into some strips. You definitely can use an onion as well. I did not have one on this night, but an onion would have gone well with this. So next I'm going to work on cutting up my beef. I am just using 1 petite sirloin. So I'm just going to cut this up into small strips. I really love this recipe or this idea because I feel like you can use any meat with this. I would love to do this with chicken as well. So next I'm just going to work on seasoning my beef. This is called black pepper beef, so I'm just going to use a bunch of black pepper, and then I will also use a sprinkle of some salt. I'm just going to toss that around and make sure everything is nice and coated. Next I'm going to work on my sauce, so I'm just going to create my own sauce. I'm using some soy sauce, sriracha, honey. Going to whisk that around. Then I will add in a little bit of water, and this will just help dilute the sauce a bit. And then next I'm going to add in some cornstarch. This will just help thicken up the sauce when I am cooking it. So at the same time, I do have 1 cup of white rice cooking. So to this pan with a little bit of oil, I'm just going to add in my bell peppers. Again, if you have an onion, I highly suggest using that as well. But I'm just going to stir this around until they become nice and soft, but you do not want them to be soggy. I also did not season the bell peppers because the sauce will coat this. So next I'm going to add in my beef. I'm just going to add it to the same pot. I don't need to remove the bell peppers. I'm just going to break this up and let it start cooking. I do have my pan set on medium high. I do want the beef to get a nice brown to it. This was definitely starting to smell so good, and I think it would have been even better with some onion. So next I'm going to add in a small spoonful of some minced garlic, and I'm just going to toss that around. The reason I don't add that in the beginning is because I don't want the garlic to burn. So next I'm going to add in the sauce. I'm just going to pour that in, and I have my pan still set on a medium high. As you see, it looks super liquidy now, but as you start cooking it, it will thicken and reduce. This is how everything looked when it was done. I just served it over a bed of white rice. You can definitely add some broccoli or something to the side, but this was so good. The next dinner I'm going to be showing you was a good one. I made some pesto aioli chicken paninis with some roasted potatoes on the side. So I am starting out with making my pesto aioli. So I think aioli mostly has to do with the mayo. I think that's what aioli is. I'm just going to add in some pesto and some lemon juice and a little bit of garlic. So then I did a little taste test and I added a sprinkle of salt, and this was ready to go. So next I'm going to work on my potatoes. These are just small gold potatoes. I did these on the side just because I wasn't sure how filling the paninis were going to be for my husband, so I wanted some extra food. So for my potatoes, I don't have any special way that I cut them up. I just cut them up into small chunks. So I'm just lining a small baking sheet with a little bit of parchment paper. I went ahead and rinsed my potatoes off, got all the dirt. Now I'm just going to spread them on that parchment paper, dry them off, and season them. So I'm just going to spray my potatoes with a little bit of cooking spray, and then I'm going to season with obviously Cajun seasoning, salt, pepper, and some dried parsley flakes. So then I'm just going to toss these around, make sure everything is nice and coated, and I put this in my oven at 375 until the potatoes were nice and brown. So next for my paninis, I'm going to work on my chicken breasts. I'm just going to butterfly them in half, that way I can cook up thin pieces of chicken. So next I'm just going to season with some pesto, salt, onion powder, and I'm just going to grill up the chicken. This is nothing special, just needing some nice grilled chicken. So next I'm going to work on making my paninis. So I'm just going to spoon some of that pesto mayo or the pesto aioli on some sourdough slices. These are kind of small, but it worked for a nice sandwich. So I'm just going to begin at making the sandwich. So I'm using Monterey Jack cheese. You can also use sliced cheese, but this is all I had. I'm going to use some tomato and some red onion I got, and some chicken. So the last step is to obviously grill up the paninis. So I'm just going to melt a little bit of butter in a pan, and then I'm just going to place these down carefully and top them with a lid. This will just help them keep in place, but also melt the cheese. So I went ahead and checked it after a couple minutes, and they were nice and brown. So then I went ahead and flipped it. These were seriously so good. We had these for leftovers as well. These are definitely one of my favorite sandwiches I've ever made, and I served it with a little side salad. So the last dinner I'm going to be showing you is from Pinterest. It's actually called ravioli sauce, and you're supposed to make it with ravioli, but I just used chicken and penne pasta instead. So I'm just going to serve this with a side salad and some garlic bread. So I'm just taking one heart of romaine and chopping it up. I love chopping my salad into small strips like this. So next I'm going to work on my chicken. I'm just taking one chicken breast and cutting that up into small diced up pieces, and I'm just going to cook these on a pan. So next I'm going to work on seasoning my chicken. So I'm just going to season with this Montreal chicken seasoning from McCormick, and I'm going to use a little bit of smoked paprika. So next I have a pan heating up with a little bit of oil. I'm just going to place that chicken on there. This is on about medium heat. I'm just going to cook the chicken until it is all the way cooked through, and then I will remove it to a clean bowl. This chicken was smelling so good while it was cooking. I really love the Montreal chicken seasoning. So once the chicken was done, it was time to start the sauce. At the same time, I do have half a box of penne noodles cooking. So to this pan, I'm just going to melt some butter and add in a little bit of garlic. So next I'm going to add in some flour. This is just going to help create a roux, which will be a great thickener for the sauce. So next I'm going to add in a small spoonful of tomato paste, not too much. I don't love tomato flavored pasta. And then I'm adding in a bunch of seasonings and I'm just going to mix that all together. So next you add in some chicken broth, but you know me, I use water and chicken bouillon powder. I don't know how much, but it's supposed to look something like this consistency. So next I'm going to add in my heavy whipping cream. Again, I don't have measurements, but I kind of base it off how much pasta I'm cooking, which is half a box. So I have my pan set on medium heat. It will start cooking and reducing, and I'm adding in some Parmesan cheese. So this is where you can start taste testing the sauce and adding whatever else you think it needs. I'm going to add my chicken back to the sauce, stir that in, and then I will drain my pasta and add that to the sauce as well. You definitely want to save a little bit of that pasta water just to help thin out the sauce if needed. So once it was done, I just cooked a slice of garlic bread for my husband in the oven. This is how everything looked when it was done. Definitely a nice comfort dish. Thank you so much for watching this week's What's for Dinner video. Make sure you come back next week for another one.